Morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's edition of the MPC Markets Morning Call. It's the 11th of August. A bit of a new thing. Welcome, Phil DeLockery. Morning, mate.
Morning, Mark. How are you?
Very well, very well. We've had a bit of feedback in the past about having a bit more ASX orientated. So bringing Phil in to do a bit of a wrap up of yesterday and a little bit of particularly now it's earnings season. A bit of a look at what to look out for on the day. But look, overall, we had Nvidia and Apple were down. A few of the chip stocks were down as well overnight. Nvidia down on a leaked $500 billion deal that supposedly involves Apollo, BlackRock, Blackstone, Brookfield, Goldman Sachs and KKR for AI infrastructure. Intel was down on the back of $15 billion stock offering, their first public stock offering since 1971. And then Jefferies downgraded Apple as well. So there wasn't much in the way of earnings, really. We had HIMS and report after the close. It wasn't too much of a move. I believe it was initially about, up a little bit, and then you've had Zuckerberg as well commenting on this new Muse Glimmer launch, which is apparently an AI you can download to your computer. Not a huge amount of movement there, but that sort of that chip out of the chip stocks and into the software sort of continuing filling. You've been watching that a little bit. That spread, it seems to be they move, pretty mutually exclusive.
Yeah, Mark, it's really been favouring the chips over the last, maybe 18 months. And you're really starting to see it turn now, sort of switching back to selling the chips and buying the software, the IGV. So selling the stocks and buying the IGV. So it seems like there's a rotation in that. And whether it keeps going or not, we'll wait and see. But something to keep an eye on. And that will reflect into our market today. I think you'll see some strength probably. 360 reports. And so therefore, we probably see how that goes. But the rest of our software should be quite strong, as it was fairly strong yesterday.
We had obviously the oil sector went up as well, just on the back of oil being up around about 4 or 5%. It's back into I think Brent's nearly at $90 again. WTI about 82, and that sort of took the sting out of it a little bit. But as you can see, we're still in fairly strong buy territory for all the technical. An hour daily and weeklies on the indexes, but it was April's best week since April last week for most of the indices, and just taking a little bit of a breather there. We do have RBA rate decision today and RBA statement. We've also got, I think, some NAB business survey overall, but we're obviously waiting for CPI, PPI numbers in the States later on in the week. Gold and silver keeps pumping. We should have some, we should probably have a bit of strength in that region of the Aussie market today, I would imagine. And look, we had yesterday, and Phil, you want to just tap on this? This was yesterday's heat map for the ASX.
Yeah. Well, yesterday the main mover was, of course, Westpac. It reported mortgage applications down 20%, and that was on the back of also NAB, I think the previous week before, flagging down 15%. So it's looking as though there's going to be some sort of, weight on that sector. I think we've got CBA tomorrow. I think with the biggest loan book in Australia, I don't think that's going to be too good either. So that was the main thing. And as you said, gold was strong. The software was quite strong, and that was the sort of main thing. And today, as I said, we've got 360 to reporting. We've got Coronado, we've got Helia, and we've got SGH. And
and obviously that RBA as well. Not expecting to move.
No.
Then the statement at 3:30 in the press conference, and that sort of business confidence. But going back to, we do have CBA apparently tomorrow. They did have a few things out around about their just around how they're going to measure loans and arrears, etc. And I just might go back to this is obviously the gold sector and silver sector and probably the energy and coal still looking pretty good overall. I mean, we had, they were pretty good movers. Uranium had a little bit of a breather, but it's been on an absolute tear. But the lithium stock's still doing pretty well. I mean, that doesn't look like a massive performer, but, it's just mainly due to the scale because silver's made a pretty significant bounce back. We're only at 54% or so, I believe, now for a September hike. And look, there's some statements out from Trump and things this morning, but everyone's just a little bit over it at the moment, and they don't really want to see, they're not really listening too much. From Iran will only negotiate with proxies. They won't negotiate with the US, but we've got a couple of the big banks this week, obviously, CBA and tomorrow, and then ANZ, and then we a few of those sort of old stalwarts like Telstra and things, which people will have a keen eye on. And then I think NAB next week. Pretty big week next week overall, but we'll sort of see what happens there. Well, and Phil, obviously, we talked about the AI and the SaaS bounce on the podcast last week. So, investors were gaining belief, but whether we sort of see that continue is a different matter. But to be honest, despite the fact that we're a little bit of a new section for the morning report, there wasn't a hell of a lot that went on overnight. That's why it's a bit of a short one today. And we're just all eyes on RBA today, CPI in the US on Wednesday night, PPI on Thursday night. And really that'll probably set the tone, because I think bond yields they were up at 4.70 for the 10-year, which was up 6 basis points overnight. The SPY's down around about 3 points, but still at 91.78, and a lot ahead. I dare say Life 360 as well, very much about user growth. They don't have a huge amount in terms of I think they're turning net profitable, but they're not. That uptake is actually it's my concerns have always been around them being only sort of 11 to 12% of people go to paid, but they start to see any on-selling of those products and new services that they're putting on the platform, then that may change. But user growth has definitely been the focus for them. As far as the rest of them go, Coronado, I would imagine, will go fairly well, considering coal prices have been up for this pretty much since the half year. Coal prices have done almost better than oil prices, I think, on this Hormuz, and we'll obviously. I think later in the week we've got Applied Materials and Cisco in terms of the US earnings or whatever. So, but yeah, not expecting a huge day until probably 2:30. Yeah, Phil, well, there's not going to be. We might see some earnings moves. But really, all eyes will be on that RBA, I would say, moving forward. But But thanks for listening. Your feedback obviously welcome. If you want to, if you want to let us know if you want to know more. For the morning call, and now we've got Phil on doing a little bit of ASX leading into it. Phil's got a good background in ASX and US sort of day trading and trading of those stocks. So, bring in your feedback. As I said, your feedback welcome, and we can try and broaden out the morning call for you. And so you get more out of it before the market open. But thanks, Phil, for joining us, and
thanks everyone.
Everyone have a great day.
Thank you, Mark. Yep, everyone have a great day. Thank you.